everybody, welcome back to Pagan's Witchy Corner. My name is Pagan, and today I am joined by a longtime friend who hasn't been on the show for a minute, but that is Laurel Woodward. Laurel is the fantastic author of several great books, including Kitchen Witchery, Backyard Witchery, and the newest one, which we're going to be talking about today, which is Wellness Witchery. And they're all fantastic books. Links will be in the show description. But Laurel, welcome back to the show.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I always love having you because we get to talk about all the farming and all the good stuff and the homesteading and all the fun stuff that I'm passionate about. But we also get to talk about the witchy aspects and how that ties
Mhm.
in. And this new book that you have out that's been out since, I believe, 2023. Yes, October
Yes.
2023. And it has all those really great kind of tie-ins for the wellness aspect of the homesteading, also the wellness aspect of witchcraft. So you get all that really great kind of nice tie-ins with that. The book is fantastic. Has so many amazing recipes and little self-care applications and all sorts of really great things, including essential oils and I mean just so much stuff that obviously we can't really dive into all of it. So I'm going to tell everybody, if you want to know more, buy the book, but we're going to talk a little bit about it today and obviously catch up. But because you haven't been on the show in a hot minute, how's life going? How's everything with your farm and all that good stuff?
Well, it's great. It really is going well. Since last we talked, I've added chickens and bees,
Oh,
and
lovely.
yeah, I'm actually going to take a class at the college to learn how to beekeep, because it's a lot more involved than you'd think.
Yes, it is very
Um,
involved.
but I'm very excited about that. Chickens are so easy and nice and wonderful, and every 3 days I have a dozen eggs. So you wouldn't think that four chickens would give you that much, but
Yeah, they do.
they sure do. They sure do. I'm always trying to give an 18 pack away. Here, have some eggs.
Have some
Unfortunately, all my
eggs.
neighbors have chickens, so they're not so easy to give away.
And that's the cool thing about a lot of places having the backyard chicken laws now where, everybody can have that nice little coop and all that good
Mhm.
stuff. So it's always fun to have chickens. We do not have chickens at our farm anymore, mainly because we have coyotes and a lot of foxes now.
Mhm.
And so they kept trying to break into our chicken coop, and it was just a whole thing. So it was easier not to have chickens because our chickens kept disappearing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So um, that was one of the things. I do miss chickens though because they're funny. They are funny little
They
birds.
they are very funny. They're
And
little dinosaurs,
they are
really.
little dinosaurs. They really are. And it's hilarious I don't know if you've gotten to watch them yet. If they get a hold of like a lizard or a snake or a
Oh, I
frog.
haven't seen that.
Oh my
No.
gosh. Wait till summer when, you've got the little critters around and all that. They will find them and get a hold of them, and then they will chase each other around trying to eat that. It's the funniest thing watching them all fight over a snake or a lizard or a frog. And they will, I mean, obviously they're little dinosaurs with it, but at the same time it's hilarious watching them because it's like, I got the snake and run away.
Yeah, yeah. I'll walk out there and call them, and they'll all come, and then the last lady will be back there, and she'll like fly up really fast.
Mhm.
And they are very, each of them has their own little personality, and they are funny.
They are hilarious. I remember one of the chickens that we had for a while. Well, two of them specifically, we named them Lucy and Ethel.
Mhm.
From the old
Mhm.
TV show Lucy and I Love Lucy, and
Yes.
they got into the biggest hijinks with each other. I would find them all over the place. They would get out of the fence and like end up on my front porch, or they would end up on my roof. And then there would be other times where they would both be sitting on my back stoop trying to come in my back door.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, hello? Can I help you? And then like, click, click, we don't need nothing. We're just here being nosy. And they were the funniest chickens. I loved them. They were great. And so yeah, I'm a firm believer and supporter of having chickens, at least also not only for the eggs, but also entertainment purposes
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you'll
they're
never
good
be bored.
companions.
And it's also really fun if you take out like a bunch of worms and feed them the worms. Oh, they
Hmm.
get so funny about that because they'll do the same thing with the worms that they do with lizards and snakes and all that. And so it's a good time. Um
They really enjoy all the chicken scraps I give them.
oh yes, they
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
Especially watermelon. Watermelon it was one of
Oh, they
our
love watermelon.
yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Our chickens would go nuts for cucumbers and watermelon. And if I was growing cucumbers, I would have to keep them away from the garden because they would get in there and start eating my cucumbers before they would be done on the vine.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, beware if you grow cucumbers with chickens
Mhm.
because they will steal them. Well, I'm glad that your farm is doing really well. I'm glad everything is going great there. Um, Now, your wellness witchery book is part of the really great series that you have going on here, which is, part of the kitchen witchery and backyard garden witchery. But this one was a little bit different because it didn't focus so much on growing as much or, doing that, but it had all of those really great herbal remedies for wellness, which is something that I think a lot of times in the modern world we kind of forget that wellness is a
Mhm.
thing and it's important. And this was a really great book to bring that kind of full circle back to why it's important to be um, focusing on the wellness of the body and the wellness of the mind and also the wellness of the spirit and bringing
Mhm.
that great um, almost kind of what's the word I'm looking for, uh I guess you could say almost like new age approach, but I was gonna say how I don't even know. I guess we'll go with new age, but and tying that in with the witchcraft, which I loved so much, and just a fantastic book overall. And I loved how there were so many great things that you put in this book, and you put them in all of your books. All of your books are like sitting down with a great friend, talking about all the great things that you've discovered throughout the time. And it's just a wonderful experience reading all of your books. So, bravo on writing another great book.
Well, thank you. Each one is sort of a snapshot where I am in my practice at that time. And this one was we were just coming out of isolation, and the whole world had gotten kind of a hopelessness
Hmm.
where no one was sure what was going on, and everyone had all of our schedules had shifted so much. There were no more social interactions and things, and that's why I have so many recipes for dealing with anxiety or dealing with sorrow or dealing with dark feelings.
Hmm.
It's because it came out of that time. It's still hopeful. It's still helpful now, even though things are much more hopeful and we've gotten back into more of a normalcy.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, things are still kind of frightening out in the world. So there's still a lot of unrest and unease and strangeness going on.
I would agree with that. I think that there is a lot that is definitely happening in the world. And it was also kind of an interesting time when it came to, you know, the lockdowns and everything else, to see how many people really started to deep dive into witchcraft and understand kind of the path and research it and learn about it. And, obviously we got such this really great influx of new witches and that they learned so many great things. But I think it was also, in part because of the fact that they were looking for something that would bring them some peace in
Hmm.
a time of unrest, which I
Yes, some sort of self empowerment.
yes, absolutely. So, when you're dealing with those kinds of feelings and emotions, obviously, because, you've heard everyone who's listening to the show, you've heard me on the show many times called Witchcraft Spicy Psychology because it is, but
Hmm.
it is also not a replacement for psychology. So, if you were in one of those moments where you're like, hey, I do need, some outside help, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. Go reach out to a therapist, reach out to a counselor, a doctor if necessary, whatever you need to, but also having these other tools alongside that in the, wellness aspect can just
Hmm.
be that much more beneficial to helping you achieve what you're looking for and achieve that type of healing. So, obviously never choose witchcraft over professional help if you need the professional help.
Right.
Witchcraft is there to be an aid and to help you through it, but not a cure all. So remember that.
It's another tool. It's another tool for you to use.
Exactly. So, that was one of the absolute things that I love teaching on this show is that, there's so many different ways to incorporate witchcraft into your life. And obviously with you, you've incorporated so much witchcraft into the homesteading aspect, which I think is fascinating and wonderful and obviously something I do in my own practice. Um so, is there anything out of that book that you would like to kind of give a snapshot into that you would highly recommend to people straight out the gate?
Well, it starts off with ally work and working with plants as a not an ingredient, but as an ally. And what I want to encourage is for somebody who's coming to work with a new plant, for them to get to know it and work with it by itself as a single ingredient and learn its lore and its history and then its habits of how of if you're growing it of how to nurture it and such. And as you pour your attention into it, your relationship develops and the plant evolves from an ingredient into an ally. And that's where magic comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You create together what your intent is to create. Um, I work with a lot of allies. My practice uses a lot of allies in even my day-to-day work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not sure if a lot of people think that way.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. And I think that in terms of practicing or being a practitioner of witchcraft, when you're working through that, obviously we have spirit allies, but I think a lot of times we forget about the other different types of allies that are incorporated in witchcraft, including plant allies.
Mhm.
I actually just had a wonderful conversation with Devin Hunter about this, about houseplant
I just did
allies.
a I just did a panel with him on his new book, and
Oh,
yeah,
lovely.
yeah, he was very well spoken.
He is such a wonderful soul. We love Devin here. But yeah, I think that that's such a really great place for people to begin. I think that that's also kind of a bit of a forgotten area of witchcraft because we're like, oh, spirits and witchcraft and deities and all this other stuff. And we also forget there are mundane aspects that we can bring in
Mhm.
that have that spiritual aspect as well, which include plant allies.
My
So,
practice is very mundane. It's very down to earth and very grounded
hey, there's nothing wrong with
in
that.
the present moment. One more thing I would like to say is the one of the cornerstones is just being present,
Hmm.
just taking time to be present when you're living. Um, so many people today are so distracted with everything. You know, you cell phones, the tablets, computers, TV, radio. It's we're being bombarded, um, and it just takes the magic out of our existence. But if we turn all that off and just come to center and be present and do things, being present, it's amazing what you will notice. What will begin to happen.
I completely agree with that. I think it's important for everyone to have kind of moments where we unplug a little bit. And obviously, if you're listening to the show, you're obviously plugged in because you're listening through an electronic device, which is fine. We support you supporting the show, but also taking some time to, have those moments to yourself. And even if you, let's say that you just listen to an episode and you're like, wow, there's a lot to think about, and unplug for a while, go for a walk, go sit outside for a while. If you are somebody who's super photosensitive, go sit in a nice comfy chair in your home. That's totally
Mhm.
okay too. You don't have to be that person that's like, I have to go touch grass. If like the sun hurts you, you don't have to. It's okay. Trust me, I'm one of those people that the sun hurts me. So um but yeah, it's okay for you to just take those moments. And even if that, you're like, I want to be present, I want to do these things, and you're like, but I only have 2 minutes. 2 minutes is
Mhm.
fine. 2 minutes is better than nothing.
Yeah, 2 minutes is better than nothing.
So, obviously having those moments where that's all you can give and that's all you can do is still enough and it's still good and it's still valid. So,
One way you could, if you are incredibly busy, you could set an intention in the morning and
mhm,
then go about your day and then keep bringing the attention back into focus
yes.
um, throughout the day, and just sitting with that intention a couple minutes throughout your day. That also is a very strong way to do it.
I also love that too. That's actually one of the things I end up doing because I get very busy and I get very distracted and especially because, being a mom and life and everything else and super busy with work and also writing and doing all the things that we do, you get to that
Mm.
point where you're just like, I'm so caught up in my life and everything else that you forget that you're also a spiritual being. And so having that moment where you're like, nope, I'm going to take a minute and we're going to talk about this. We're going to greet the deities and, do the things. And sometimes that's 5 minutes while I'm drinking my coffee before all the chaos starts and the dogs get up and the kids get up and everybody's up and moving and all that. Sometimes that's all that I have, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. So, you have these three beautiful books out. Do you have any more on the horizon that you would like to tease and talk a little bit about?
Well, I have one I've been working on, but it's just not coming together. So I'm thinking about putting it on the back burner and shifting into something else. I don't know. Um, with spring just opening up right now, I'm going to dive in and do a lot of physical work and just think about things and just let them brew. But I've been working on a book called about household gods, care and feeding of household spirits.
Oh, that's lovely.
Um, but it's not finding its legs.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I have a lot of really interesting stuff, but yeah, I don't know. We'll just see. We'll just see what happens.
Hey, sometimes you just need it to give it room to breathe for a while and then come back to it, and then suddenly all of the ideas flow. So,
Yes. Well,
yeah.
that's what happened with this wellness book. I was actually working on a energy book, and then I was just stuck, and I was like, "This is just not going anywhere." And I did this panel on Yule food, and one of the viewers asked me in particular how if my practice had shifted during the whole lockdown thing.
Hmm.
And I thought, "Oh my gosh, not only has it shifted, it has completely evolved." And the next day I started writing these plant profiles and it became wellness witchery.
I love that so much. I love how it's like, well, that's a deep question. And then it's like, oh, there's the idea. Off we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's going to be great, whatever ends up coming out of, the ether for you. And I know it's going to be a fantastic book regardless because all
Well,
of your
thank
books
you.
are. And I'm excited for whatever comes out of the future, whether it be household deities or something else that hasn't been created yet, which is also great. Um, do you have any like classes or panels or anything coming up that you'd like to promote and talk about?
I do not. I do not. Put this season on hold so that I can jump in and get. There's living on a farm. There's just so much work
There's a
to.
lot of work to do. It's
There's,
true.
I have dairy cows that I milk, and I have sheep and goats and the chickens and bees. But I also have a pasture and an acre that I do pumpkins and corn on.
Hmm.
And it's last week. Every time the rain stopped, I went out because I have so many weeds coming up that I can't have in the pasture. I have thistles. I have uh, tansy.
Hmm.
Um, there's a Oh, I don't know why my mind is going blank. But anyway, the things that I can't have the animals, I can't have taking over the grass and I can't have animals eating.
Hmm.
And I've been pulling them out by the thousands. Um, it's just a lot of manual labor because I don't spray. I don't spray herbicides. I don't use pesticides.
Hmm.
I pull everything or till or cover with leaves and bark and
Yeah.
depends on what section I'm working on.
I think that that's a really good way to do that, especially if you're trying to um not put anything harmful into the ground
Mhm,
because, we put a lot of harmful things into the ground already, and
mhm,
the less we
right.
add to it in the future, the better. And so, yeah, I love doing that kind of thing, and sometimes having that really great ability to have that ground cover when you need it,
Mhm,
but also
mhm,
having to manually do all of the labor that comes with having a farm and pull up all those terrible weeds
mhm.
is a chore and a bore.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel great at the end of the day, and it
Oh,
does make my
yeah.
body strong and healthy, and it
Exactly.
is lovely being outside. There are some wonderful perks.
Yes, there absolutely
Um,
are.
a
Absolutely.
and I'm my own boss, I work at my own speed, so,
Hey,
you know.
got nobody to answer to except yourself.
Yeah, right, right.
Well, Laurel, this has been wonderful as always. I look forward to all the stuff you do in the future, and whenever those books come out, whatever they may be, you'll have to come back so we can talk about them again. But in the meantime, have a great time with your farm. I look forward to hearing about what's going to be happening with that in the future. And to everyone who's listening, thank you so much for being here. You're awesome for listening, and the show wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you. Make sure that you check out all of Laurel's books in the show description. There will be links below. There will be links to Laurel's social media as well, so give her a follow there as well so you can keep up with all the fun stuff. And be kind to yourselves. And I will talk to you all next time. So, bye everyone.